Mayor's city budget is still being hashed out with Mayor Tom Barrett.
Right.
You know, city budgets are a big deal for us journalists. They're a big deal for citizens too, but I'm not sure we often as citizens sort of think about it that way. So why should city residents care about this budget?
So this is a tough budget for the city. Even Milwaukee Mayor Tom Barrett, when he was presenting his budget, said this isn't the budget he wanted to present. I would say nobody's a big fan of this budget, including the mayor. It includes closing 6 firehouses in the city. So that means 75 firefighter position eliminations. That's not layoffs. That is not replacing people who are retiring or having smaller classes for those who are coming on. But, you know, 75 positions, even though there are no layoffs, that's still a tough pill for people to swallow. Also, 33 police officer position being eliminated, no layoffs there either, but obviously with things like reckless driving and homicide and hit and runs being talked about in the city a lot, I think that people are concerned when you start talking about having fewer police officers.
Now, some of Barron's opponents would argue that, you know, look, he doesn't really need to close firehouses. He doesn't really need to lay off all those police officers or cut those budgets. He could find savings somewhere else, and this is really just a ploy to get what he wants.
So, yeah, he pitched a public safety linked half-cent sales tax, saying that in order to maintain public safety, we need to have a local taxing ability where we could have a sales tax maybe for people who don't necessarily live in the city, but a lot of people from around the state or the suburbs who come to the city to go to Bucks games or to go to, you know, festivals around the city, and saying that basically the city needs to have more flexibility. Obviously, he did not get that authority and probably will not get that authority from Republican Governor Scott Walker.
Come from the state.
It would have to go to a referendum of the voters, but the state would have to authorize that to happen. And that seems very unlikely with his former rival in the 2 governor's races. Scott Walker still is governor, a Republican-controlled legislature, who are not a big fan of new taxes. Whether or not they're giving state money, they still don't want to give him that authority. So I think that as tough as a budget as 2018 is, 2019 could be worse. And
why do you say that? Why might it be worse?
Because I don't think that between now and next year that the city will get some kind of new taxing authority, or that the state government will necessarily want to shake up shared revenue so the city gets more money.
So these pressures of paying police and fire, the pensions and all that are just going to grow?
I don't see it changing dramatically.
The revenue side is sort of static.
Right,
okay.
Exactly. And, you know, clearly like the new Bucks Arena, hey, the Bucks will stay here, we'll have all these high-paid players, but who gets the income, you know, who gets the taxes based on their salaries? That doesn't go to the city of Milwaukee, that goes to the state.
There's a lot of development around town with the Bucks Arena, the NML Tower, and all that, but some of that is TIFed to the degree that there won't be money coming immediately from that, correct?
Some of it is, or property taxes. It'll take a while for those.
Yeah, for those to come online.
Right, exactly. Okay. So we've seen a lot of development in the city of Milwaukee. I think we'll continue to see a lot of development in the city of Milwaukee. But the concern is that this downtown development and all the cranes and buildings aren't going to reach the neighborhoods, and that's, you know, a lot of neighborhoods are really hurting.
Okay, one more question. Look, we're building this streetcar. It's very controversial. Lots of folks, particularly conservatives, and I think Chris, who was on earlier, and we'll have him back in a little bit, would argue, why are you doing this?
Yeah.
So what if he just said, like Walker did with the East-West Freeway and the Republicans did this week, we're just not going to do that right now.
Right.
I guess it's in the ground, might be hard to stop, but could you stop and just not pay for it for a while? So
it's in the ground. They've gotten federal funding. The current city budget for 2018, the proposal includes, it's about $315,000 for operating the streetcar, which is supposed to start later next year. There are some positions that it looks like will be streetcar related, but when you look at the grand scheme of things and how many police officer positions those cuts would save versus how much money in federal dollars you may have to give back if you killed it, I think it would probably it would be a loss for the city, where they'd end up cutting more cops.
Over a
probably.
loss, and it's a handful of jobs you'd gain.
Right,
is
probably.
that analysis.
Yeah, maybe I'd say less than half a dozen. So,
Okay.